Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's meeting is back to the regular schedule. It's nice to be back where we know when our meetings will be after the holidays. So let's please start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the roll call will show that all council members are in attendance. We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes of the December 12th and 16th, 2024 meetings, approval of bills and claims, which does include the memo that you had at your table today. I'll just mention that's an amended bill that doesn't actually show, so I trust that everyone's looked at that. Licenses and permits, including renewal of Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service and catering for Wasted Grain Bar and Grill. Renewal of a Class E retail alcohol license for Walmart Supercenter number 1787. A new Class C retail alcohol license, 8-month with outdoor service for Golf Services Limited. Appointments to committees and commissions and boards, and those will include Jonathan Campbell for the Board of Adjustment, Shelley Deal, Planning and Zoning, Ron Miners, Planning and Zoning, Kevin Whitrock on the Airport Commission, and Richard Fulton on the Airport Commission. It also includes the 2023 Municipal Golf Course Booster Pump Station Project as presented. We have all that on there. And then the City Policy number 304, sale of surplus city property, including sale of equipment, bid opening for the report for the golf tractor, and one firefighter resignation. Is there any discussion regarding anything on what I mentioned? I'll look for a motion to approve.
I'll move.
By Tom, second by Jason. Jason. Okay, I'm sorry, Jason.
We sound the same.
Close. All right, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Shrek?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cornell?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Are there any oral requests from the audience tonight? This would include anything that you might want to speak about that's not on the agenda this evening. Anyone got anything they want to talk about? Yes, sir. Come on up, state your name, take 5 minutes.
Randy Toft, 708 North Adams. Received a letter about 7 days ago today about being in front of the Board of Adjustment because we had a daycare. And spent 7 days stewing about this, going to different places, trying to get it taken care of or find information. I was here 3 times, had a conversation with somebody in this building. I was told I couldn't have the list of people that went on, whatever. So now, about an hour and a half ago, I'm told that now there's another letter coming to disregard this one. Is that true?
I'm not aware of any letter to disregard.
No, at this point, we've been made aware that there's a new state law that could very well supersede what our code says. And Dave and I have had a conversation about that, so we're going to look into that and address the code as written so that we make it right.
Could we be some indication as to how that goes about? I mean, is this gonna go away, or is there gonna be another letter that says we'll run it again?
I would venture a guess that we'll make a change to it so that it would go away, but we've got to make sure we're following what we have and what we've got in place now, but we'll probably have to make some changes to our city ordinance.
So at what point was this triggered, may I ask that?
It was looked at through the, through our, there was a complaint that was to look at that as far as daycares were concerned, and then that letter started to go around and got addressed and sent out.
So it was only addressed as daycares?
I believe it was to the daycare, in-home daycares that were in the city, yes.
So there was no addressing of any other business, any other work, occupation, profession, or business?
We don't know where all of those are at this point in time. So if we're aware of those, we will address them. But again, we have to look at our state code, or I'm sorry, the city ordinance to make sure that we're following state code first.
All right, so then I guess I'll put this on the back burner until something else hits my plate, huh? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Randy. I'll go ahead and move on to ordinances.
Hey, real quick, with
Yes,
that,
sir.
with that letter that was sent out, is there a response date or anything on that for these people?
Last day of this month.
Is there, so I got a call on this too, Randy, and then there's a fee,
$50 application fee,
okay,
and then in the, whatever this minutes or the ordinance, it says that there's a permit to be taken. So I can only guess that there's another amount of money to be obtained.
Now, it's a $50 one-time fee.
That's for the application.
No, that's the registration. It's all the same.
It's in your letter.
I know that, but it's just a $50 registration fee. Or if it's for the application, that's fine, it's just the one fee.
If I can address it, sorry.
so with that letter, can that get sent out to all of us and we look at that? I know we meet the 27th next. Kind of the complaint that I got was the $50 fee, more so than anything, on the fact of it's already hard to find in-home daycares. They're already not making much money. So I just want to look at that and
Which letter?
the letter that was sent out to
Sure.
these,
Yep.
the daycare providers
Absolutely.
or the in-home businesses on that side.
I received a call too and discussed everything, probably the same person, and I had questions about, it's in-home daycare.
Yeah,
Talking about
correct.
in-home businesses, which is in our code. And then you go to the Board of Adjustment in order to get the necessary approval
correct.
to do it. But they were also asking about about licensure, because some in-home daycares that have, I think, 6 or less kids, they don't have to be licensed, and I was not
Don't have to
sure,
be
so
registered.
no, the state, I went to the state.
There's two things, there's license and
Yeah,
registered.
I think it's very confusing. I appreciate
Absolutely.
your, and I try,
There's
so
8
anyway.
levels of
yeah,
registration.
I think we all should have a copy, that would be appreciated, so we understand. I think we're all gonna be approached at some time.
So assume, my understanding was that this letter was sent out, but it wasn't accurate. And it's supposed to be, I guess, rescinded?
Per our city code right now, it is accurate. However, we've been informed that there's it recently, and Dave, you can jump in, recently here in the last couple of years, there's been a state code that supersedes our ordinance the way it reads. Now, there's a little bit of definition in the city code, or I should say in the state code, that I don't know if I agree with, but we have to look at how they're defining, I can't remember what the term is, but a I can't remember exactly.
Probably no impact.
No impact business. So we have to look at that, what that definition is, and then make the adjustments to our city code.
So we owe your answer quick and fast with you owe $50 and you have to do something or not, is what I'm kind of taking, is what you would like. You would like to know whether you owe $50 and need to register this thing or not, correct?
I brought my
That's
check
a-
last Tuesday.
Yeah, but I assume
And then
that.
they told me that it was being reviewed by the.
Okay, but I assume that you just want some kind of resolution of whether you gotta pay the $50 or not.
Well, I've got a whole nother argument.
I don't know. See, my thing is, I don't even think it needs to be an argument. If it's not like we don't have, if this thing isn't real, then we just need to let you know sooner than later that, hey, you don't need to do this.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, that's,
Yeah, we
I think
need
as a
to-
council, we can all agree that we can get you that answer. Probably not right now, but within the next
Well, it sounds like
We-
Aaron's.
Next couple days.
next couple of days, we owe you an answer on whether we can,
So how would that
if you live right down the street from me, I'll knock on your door if you'd like me to.
Well, Aaron, you and Dave are on top of it.
We'll let him do it.
I'll come on
You're
down.
Yeah.
on top of it,
We're-
so
we're
thank you.
Volunteer.
come? How much stress
All right, how do
is
you
it?
want to?
No, I got you. We owe you an
We're,
answer.
Yeah.
our
I will get you
anticipation
this
is
We'll get it.
clarification on the letter, and
You're
we'll say
welcome,
something
you're welcome.
out by letter.
Okay, so Randy, you can anticipate a clarified letter.
I already anticipated that. They told me Thursday I was getting one.
Okay,
So is it in the mail?
no, that's what we're working on right now.
I mean,
He's over it too.
Aaron, how did this come about? Why was it only sent to daycare providers?
The complaint came in as checking on the number of in-home daycares that were registered as in-home or, what's the permit called?
shoot.
Home occupation permits. So that's where it started with seeing if we had daycares that had home occupation permits.
And a home occupation permit consists of only daycares or all home businesses?
Any home businesses.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that obviously don't speak for you. It is frustrating when a letter goes out and it's not completely accurate. That's, you know, and I can understand your frustration. that,
I
you know,
don't disagree with
yes,
that.
And we need to, you expect more from us and we owe you more than that. If that's the kind of, you know what I mean? A letter that goes out should be accurate and, you know what I mean?
I just like to know where it was generated.
Yeah,
Because I came here 10 minutes after I got that letter. I was standing out here, okay? And I was told that the city manager didn't know anything about it.
That is correct. I did not know that letter went out.
Well, then that sounds a little odd to me.
well, that's something that we can look at internally, where that letter kind of went through them. I don't think, we can look at that internally of where that letter was generated and how it got on. But at the end of the state, we owe better to you guys than to send a letter out that, you know, and we'll take it kind of on the chin on that one. Or at least I'll take it on the chin that, you know,
I'm taking
you
it on the
can
chin.
take it, you know, I don't want to speak for anybody else. I'm one of six, so.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well understood by everybody up here that something needs to be straightened out.
Yes.
Like this, so that's our efforts for the next 2 weeks, okay? Thank you
Sorry
very
to
much
be
for
less than
bringing it
that.
up.
Next couple days.
Next couple days, I was referring to our next meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
That something would be certainly done by then, but quicker, obviously.
Thank you for coming in. We do appreciate it.
All right, we'll move on to ordinances, and the first and only ordinance is Rolling Hills South Fifth Edition, and Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinance establishing street grades on Southdale Drive and West Ridge Drive in the Rolling Hills South Fifth Edition was, first reading was approved at your last meeting on December 16th. Now before you is an opportunity for the second reading. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the second reading, waiver of the third reading, and adoption of the grade ordinance.
All right, has there been any issues for anyone on the council regarding this, or any questions?
And this is that road, I'm gonna bring this up because, and we've gone out there and inspected the storm sewers and everything that are where they need to be and stuff like that.
Yes,
Okay, and it's, okay,
yeah.
okay. Just wanna make sure that we went out there and looked at it before we just got, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, so I look for a motion to,
One moment.
come on back up if you have a question about it.
I must live on the wrong side of something, I tell you what. So, in front of my home, I had a conversation before the cement was poured on that street that the water should run away from my curb. But they told me, the city told me, and the engineering company that was working on it told me that it couldn't run away from the curb because something about the storm sewer. So I finally took it as that was the way it was gonna be, so they poured my half. Then they went a half a block north of me, and three gentlemen who don't speak English figured out how to make the water run away from the curb. So then, now the water comes down there from the line of the street, makes a little curve over by my curb, and then freezes there at night. Thank you very much. Somebody needs to be watching these projects, because this is going to pieces in a heartbeat. I just don't understand how all these engineers can't figure out that when you live on a hill, water runs downhill. You can tip it any direction you want. I spent 50 years in construction, and I had that figured out fairly soon, so thank you very much.
right, so, if we're ready to approve, make a motion to approve the second reading and waive the third, I would look for that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Tom and Jason seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Ordinary,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes,
Dirk,
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And a motion to adopt, please.
so moved.
Second.
Okay,
JJ, second.
JJ seconded and Carolyn made the motion. Roll call vote, please.
Schreck,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes,
Ordinary,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. Move on to resolutions. First resolution is water distribution main replacements of 2023. And Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. During construction of the water main project, there were conditions encountered that required a change to the plans. And it was actually in 3 locations. One was some additional fittings on the main along Highway 30 east of Grant Road, and then 2 water service line changes, also crossing Highway 30 east of Grant Road. The total of the cost of that included in a change order number 3 is $9,488. In addition to that, the change order does include a change in contract time. The contractor completed the project on December 20th of 2024. The contracted completion date was October 1st of 2024. So the assessment of liquidated damages, which are included in the contract at $500 a day, was reviewed based on some criteria for that assessment. And it was determined that the criteria was not met. So assessment of the liquidated damages is not included in the change order. The change order does include the increase or change of the completion date by 80 calendar days to December 20th of 2024. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the change order in the dollar amount of $9,488 and an 80-day increase in contract time.
Hey, Randy, I think I've asked this one other time as well, but this $500 per day or per calendar day for them being late on the completed project, how many cities hold their feet to the fire on something like this?
It's actually the way that it's been that has been interpreted by the courts is that you have to prove actual damage. So that's one of the criteria. Was there any actual damage to the city by having this project completed past the completion date? And in this case, there was no actual damage determined to the city. Now, had we, for example, contracted for inspection of that project and kept an inspector paid for an additional 80 days, that would have clearly been an additional or damage to the city, an additional cost. In this case, the city's engineering technician did the inspection, the daily inspection, and the way that had been interpreted was that he would have been paid as an employee of the city. He would have been paid in any case, whether he was inspecting this project or not. So it wasn't considered a damage to the city. So it's kind of confusing when the contract specifically states liquidated damages after a certain date, and they're established beforehand at the time of signing the contract. But then the courts have interpreted as being actual damage, required to prove actual damages. So it's frustrating.
I just I've heard a lot of complaints from people of how long it took to do that project. So that's what made me ask the question, you know, how do you get them
Frontal
to,
damage.
how do you get them to speed up or get to their completed, you know, estimated completion date? So,
Yeah, it sure would have been certainly if the city would have encountered some damages that could be proven.
okay.
And that was the frustrating part. We couldn't.
So are we looking at how we can hold these contractors accountable to doing it in a timely, like, I mean, both sides, maybe that's a question for you. Both sides can play this game of, well, this case law says this, so I can take as long as I want. At some point in time, someone needs to be accountable for what's being done in a timely manner. And that's just, I mean, that's across the country, I assume, you know what I mean? So I guess, are we working on ways to make sure that people are doing things how they're supposed to do it in a timely manner? Because if you remove that $500 a day, I'm surprised they got it done in December 2024. You know what I mean? Why not take it out to December 25? You know what I mean? That was always the kind of thing that held them accountable. And maybe that's a you question to look into. Of there still has to be ways that people are, you know, we're all held accountable to something. You know what I mean? And so how do we go forward with that if that avenue is not working? What are other cities doing to ensure that their contractors are held accountable to the timely?
Yeah, Randy stated that very succinctly regarding the liquidated damages. It does have to be based on actual damages. It cannot be a penalty or punishment to the contractor. And I know Randy and staff always go back and double check to see what has the city expended beyond that particular date.
Okay.
So it's really a complicated and difficult issue that's been interpreted by the courts, and we got to follow that.
Okay.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve the change order number 3 to the water distribution main replacements project in the amount of $9,488.
So move.
Jason and Tom seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Rex?
Yes.
Ordinary?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Okay. All right, we move on to Adams Street reconstruction. And Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. The resolution before you is a step in completing the special assessment project on the Adams Street reconstruction project. This resolution will accept the work, approve the final plat and schedule of assessments, and then levy the final special assessments against 5 properties. You'll recall when this project was initiated, the offer was made to individuals, property owners, to extend their sewer or water or both service lines from the point that the city included in the contract to their structure, building, a home or business. There were 5 properties that elected to do that, and those are listed in your memorandum and the cost of those extensions. So that would be the final assessment cost on each of those 5 properties. So the total final assessment is $27,680. So that's the resolution, and that's a formal step in the special assessment process. In addition to that, for the purposes of notification and certification, there's 2 decisions the council will need to make. The first is the length of time for repayment of the special assessments. Iowa code permits up to a maximum of 15 years. More customarily, 10 years is used. And the second is the interest rate on the unpaid special assessments. The Iowa code currently permits up to 9%. So those 2 decisions are necessary tonight in addition to the resolution. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend the establishment by motion of a 10-year repayment period for the special assessments, and then establishment by motion of the interest rate that you desire up to a maximum of 9%, and then passage and approval of the resolution accepting the work, approving the plat and schedule, and levying the assessments.
Randy, if you do a 10-year, can they pay it off earlier without any penalty?
Yes, in fact, under the Special Assessment Code of Iowa, they can, within 30 days of today, they can pay it with no interest. Following that time, there's an interest calculation annually on the assessment, and then repayment could be done annually.
So it's either within 30 days or they have to wait for an annual payment? That's how I heard you say that.
I believe they can pay it off early,
Anytime.
after the 30-day period.
Okay.
That one would
Just
have
they
to
would
check.
start accruing interest after 30 days.
It does accrue interest, yes.
Is this a separate bill? Is it done on your property tax?
It comes with your property tax, and it's listed on the
Okay.
tax statement.
And how does that interest rate get tacked onto your taxes then?
County,
Laura knows better.
the county treasurer will do
They
it.
do that.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Well, I think 9% is a little high.
So do I.
I understand that thought process. However, if you went to a bank,
What's
which,
current? Around 7.
well, I don't want to compete with the banks, which is why I would rather put it at 9%. So if they want to go to the bank, they can get the loan from the bank for a cheaper interest rate.
Sure.
That's why I would set it at 9%.
Okay.
Unless
That's
you want
my
us to compete with
suggestion to you.
Unless you want us to compete with you.
We don't want to compete.
And that's the other part. We're not necessarily a bank.
Right.
Okay, makes sense to me. All right, I look for a motion to establish by motion 10 annual installments into which the assessments are to be divided. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Tom?
Second.
Laverne.
And Laverne. Roll call vote, please.
Dirks,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes,
Atherton,
Yes.
Fornero.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Okay, I look for a motion to establish the interest rate on unpaid installments not to exceed 9%.
So moved.
Kyle?
Second.
Laverne.
Laverne again. Okay, I gotta look at it. Okay, Laverne
Made the motion.
And I have no second.
Second.
second,
And Tom seconded.
Got it.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Fornero,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Seaman.
yes,
Motion is approved.
All right, I need a motion to approve the resolution accepting work, approving final plat and schedule of assessments, adopting the levying final schedule of assessments and providing for payment thereof for the Adams Street reconstruction.
So moved.
By Laverne
Second.
and Kyle. Roll call vote, please.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
yes,
Fornero,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
My computer's also working. It's pretty excited down there.
Okay, we'll move on to the fiscal year 2024-25 budget amendment number 1. We need to open up a public hearing for this, and it is 5:44 PM. And Laura,
Yes.
would you like to present this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the time for the public hearing on our budget amendment number 1 for our current fiscal year that ends June 30th of 2025. We also included a listing of the items at the last meeting, but they're also included with this memorandum. Most generally, the items are carryover projects that were not complete as of June 30th of 24, but are either been paid so far this year or are planning to get paid yet this fiscal year. According to state code, we are required to publish notice of this public hearing, which was done on Friday, December 27th. So if there are any questions, I would request council to listen if there's any comments from the public, and then approve the resolution adopting budget amendment number 1.
Any other questions for Laura? 6 PM. And, look for an approval of the, resolution, or I mean, a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 budget amendment number 1.
So moved.
Second.
And Kyle,
Carolyn?
yeah, Carolyn.
Whatever.
Laverne.
And Laverne. Roll call vote, please.
Dirk?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cordero?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Resolution's approved.
All right, thank you. Next, we move on to memorandum of understanding for the purpose of emergency shelter. And Aaron, would you like to discuss this for us?
Yes, this is an agreement with emergency management and emergency management coordinator, Mr. Cullen, correct? I got that correct?
Yes.
Go ahead and,
Do you want to come on up, Jeff?
You bet.
Jeff.
Talk about this?
You bet.
And go ahead and say your name on there just for the record, so people are.
My name's Jeff Cullen. I'm Emergency Management Coordinator for Carroll County. My main goal, or my main role in my job is disaster preparedness. So obviously, one thing that comes to mind is shelters. I've got 2 MOUs here. I'm presenting to the city. The first one would be to the library. That one there would be just in cases of during normal business hours when the courthouse has people in it. If we'd had something at the courthouse, we need to evacuate, I'd like to use the library to shelter my people. I'm in the process of rewriting the courthouse's emergency operations plan. Right now, when they exit, they go north to the trees near Highway 30. I don't feel that's safe. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to go south. So that's why I got this memorandum of understanding. This is why I've done this one for the library. So like I said, it'd just be business hours. It'd be the patrons and the employees of the courthouse. The second one is for the Carroll Rec Center, and that one would be probably, if we needed to use it, could be possibly a longer time period. Obviously, if we have a disaster, which I hope we never have, I need to get people under roof. I need to get them protected, safe, get them somewhere secure to be, okay? So I would like to use the Carroll Rec Center. I got some other places in town. My goal is for Carroll County to have shelters in every town in our county in case we have a disaster. I hope and pray we never do, but when I was in Greenfield last year, that was a real eye-opening experience. So, the more shelters you can have, the better. So basically, that's what I'm asking.
Well, first, welcome to the most polarized job position probably in our country right now. I guess. I have got, what's like the normal turnaround on getting cots, a person, let's just say there's a fire, 15 people, how's it go down? What is turnaround to that person in a shelter with a cot, food, everything?
My first contact on any time we have that is to Red Cross. I do have 25, 30 cots on hand here in Carroll. So, I mean, we can put them out, but I call Red Cross. Just to give you an example, that night in Greenfield, I believe that tornado hit down there around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. I was down there, by 7:30, 8 o'clock. We had all kinds of cots. We had hospital beds and everything in that school.
Okay.
A lot of that was from Red Cross. Red Cross is great.
And we've seen all this stuff. I want to make sure that we don't open up a quad con and it's like rats comes scurrying out and
No.
cots are,
No.
you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so, no.
I know it's a crazy question, but
I know,
I just want to verify, for
It's-
all of our sake.
Right, but, my job is a coordinator, so I'm basically a resource officer is what I am. So if we got something here, I get whatever we need to take care of the problem as soon as I can, so. It's been a real first eye-opening year, I'll tell you that, so.
Is
But
there,
yeah.
is there certain sections into each building that you designate for this?
Well, so like if first of all, the library, we would just basically just get people in there, and that would be for fairly short time, so whatever we get them in, away from the windows and so forth. The rec center, most likely what we'd probably be, if it's overnight, stuff like that, we probably need a gymnasium. But we could also do the classrooms on the side. as far as food and water, I got resources for that too. Food would be in, and we could bring water in, and no, that wouldn't be a problem either. But I would say, you know, ultimately, we probably could use as much of the rec center as it can be spared. And obviously, I'm gonna try and get them out of there as quick as I can. I'm not gonna, this ain't gonna be a month-long process or anything like that, so.
Do you don't have anything on the campus of the library or the rec center already stored, do you?
No.
These are things that
No.
you have, and where are they now?
Our storage unit, the cots that I have right now, we have supplies. My office is in the bottom of the Fricky building, the old Court Street pub. Everybody knows where that's at, I think. I'm in the basement of that. It's a maze to get in there. I have some things there, and I also have a storage unit by Smithfield, and that's where our cots are.
Okay. And do you have any other buildings in town? I mean, what comes to mind to me is the courthouse, which has always been the tornado shelter. And I think probably a bomb shelter back in the 60s is what it was made for back in the day. So is that being used at all? Or
So what the courthouse, as far as the tornado shelter, that's, we will stay there. We'll stay put there. I wouldn't evacuate to the library for that. The times that we'd go to the library would be during like a active shooter or some kind of a threat, a fire on a day like today. Be nice to get them inside and let them standing under the trees. So, things like that. It wouldn't be anytime we get like a storm or something like that, no, we're still gonna use the courthouse, cause that's probably the safest building in town. You know, so, but for a fire on a really cold day or an active shooter or something like that, bomb threat, I would probably like to see them either a little further away than a library, so.
And you have access to these places so that Chad's on vacation or Wendy's on vacation, you can,
I do not right now.
Okay.
Obviously, the library would be during business hours, so that should be an issue. As far as the rec center goes, I guess this is the first step.
okay.
So if we get this completed, then I'll probably follow through. The final thing I have to do before this is I have to run this through my commission.
Okay.
And they have to accept it too and sign off on it, which I see no reason why they wouldn't. But yeah, I'm just kind of one step at a time here, so.
I'm sure you guys will take care of that, obviously. I'd hate to be everyone standing out there and there's no key to be, you know?
Yeah.
any other questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank
Thanks, buddy.
you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hopefully don't need you.
I do too.
We'll do this in two motions. The first motion would be to approve a memorandum of understanding between the city of Carroll Rec Center and Carroll County Emergency Management Agency for the purpose of emergency shelter for the city of Carroll.
So moved.
And Jason moved, and is there a second?
I did.
Okay, JJ seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Atherton?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Fournier?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Schreck?
Yes.
All right, and I need a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Carroll Library and Carroll County Emergency Management Agency for the purpose of emergency shelter for the City of Carroll.
I'll moved.
Second.
By Tom, JJ seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Schreck?
Yes.
Fournier?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
And Wendy, you're good with that? We probably should have asked you before we said yes.
Yeah, and I'll present that to the library board at our next meeting, which will be next.
I figured you would have spoke up if you didn't, okay. So,
Yeah, we're good with that.
okay.
Okay, we'll move on to reports. The first report is community branding proposal.
Ryan Milligan and Kimberly
Brian,
Keefe.
okay, come on up and introduce yourselves and let's hear you out.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Ryan Milligan, and I am representing the newly formed steering committee for the community brand. This is a collaborative committee between the city and the chamber, hence why Kimberly is here. So in your agenda packet, you have some information already, but to summarize, this is in response to what the city completed with the downtown assessment and the Iowa Economic Development Authority. From that, it was recommended that the city undertake an evaluation from community branding expert Ben Muldrow. Ben's company is a community creative planning firm that has worked with over 550 cities in 40 different states to create custom community brands. So for our brand, Ben visited Carroll independently of his official visit to get familiar with the city and experience Carroll. His second visit included numerous community meetings with various groups and city officials. And he also collected a tremendous amount of market data as far as demographics and retail, housing, workforce, and employers. So from this information, Ben identified the predominant logos and brands that already exist in our community and was able to create a cohesive new logo for Carroll, which incorporates the Carroll script logo along with the two school logos, Carroll Merchants, and then also the Carroll Chamber. He also used a new type font that is easier to read, as well as it's better with the varying digital formats in today's world. So he also updated that. He recognized the community's history with baseball and incorporated that into some of the slogans and alternative logos. So at this time, the steering committee is looking for direction from the council. So should you take action and move forward with the adoption of the plan that he has proposed, that funds also be allocated towards it. This is a phased plan, with phase one being wayfinding signs, street banners, and then the possible lighting of the downtown kiosks in the downtown district area. Future phases would include additional wayfinding signs, murals, gateway signage, and other things. So this is Ben's plan is a phased plan, so this isn't something where the logos all need to be changed overnight. It is something that's gradual and done over time. Any questions or comments on it so far?
Ryan, how many other cities have a branding like this?
Well, the nearest
Our
one,
size, sorry.
well, the nearest one is Coon Rapids. They went through the exact same process with Ben Muldrow. And so we've been in touch with them as far as where they purchase the signs and things of that nature. As far as the other towns, I don't know in Iowa what other towns. I just know 550 communities in 40 states, and I believe 4 countries as well, so.
He does a, excuse me, he does a lot of work for Main Street, the national organization. So a lot of Main Street communities have used Ben.
So this, define what the $65,000 would go towards specifically. Is it toward the creation of the signs, toward his fees, what?
Yeah, so all of that. So towards his fees, it would go towards the street banners, which Rosanna's already gotten quotes or started to get quotes on that. And then the wayfinding signs themselves. So that's in the early process. The DOT is involved. We have to get approval from them first, and then we'll get some quotes from sign manufacturers. And then again, depending on what that looks like, that'll depend on how many signs we can do and things like that. So, and then the kiosks themselves will take an electrician and some things like that to see what the capacity is there too.
What is our plan to get this in front of the public? This is their brand.
So obviously the concept itself is from the meetings and the community meetings he already had. So in a sense, he's created this based off what he experienced here and the meetings that he had from those of us that were in attendance, as well as from the public that were at them. As far as getting in front of them, I mean, there's a number of things you could do. We've talked about signage downtown, the library, rec center here in City Hall. You could do something. Again, it's kind of, it doesn't need to be, as he calls it, a corporate brand change where you just all of a sudden change all your logos and the water tower and everything all at once. It's a gradual phased in thing. As it's received, it's used more, and if not, then used less, I guess.
But my belief is that anytime a brand changes, like the Marine Corps changed their brand numerous times, I walk out of this room and I say, what does the new Carroll brand look? And people are gonna be, what are you talking about, a new brand? So you're already starting off with a new brand, and they're like, what are you talking about, a new brand? Right? And that's the importance of being able to, just so that they visually see this before it becomes, well, City Council just spent $65,000 on a sign that I haven't even seen. That, like, there has to be, there's stepping stone to get to where, I'm not against the $65,000, but I think that we're missing a valuable step of getting this brand in front of people. Are 10% of the people gonna say they absolutely hate it and they don't like it? Absolutely, they are. But anytime that you change your brand or change, like when I joined the Marines, we were slaying dragons. We realized that didn't work and we had to change our brand, right? And this is just a logo. The logo kind of goes with the brand, but if people don't see that logo and associate it with Carroll and understand that, we're missing a valuable step, you know what I mean? And so that's why I wanna know, what is this plan to get this in front of the public before we spend the $65,000? So the public knows what we are doing with it, transparency more or less.
I guess I don't know what are you wanting it to be a vote, or what do you?
I'm not even wanting, it doesn't even need to be a vote, it's showing them our brand.
So we've talked about.
Say, hey, so somebody watches this thing, besides seeing this, all of a sudden they start seeing signs and they're like, what is this? There is, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you can go to the newspaper, I'm sure that we have a newspaper here that could print that thing so that people in our community, we have Facebook, we have TikTok, we have everything else, using these things to start getting this brand out so people understand what this brand is.
So it's actually in our recommendation to agree with the logo and then a development of a marketing plan. So that would be your job then.
Yeah, so that's why first step is this, is to get the adoption. So before the chamber or the city or anybody moves forward with anything, that you accepted, the plan that the Iowa Economic Development Authority and the downtown assessment, which was part of the city plan.
So what is your marketing plan to get this in front of the public?
Like Brian said, we've and you mentioned this as well, having signs, early on, you mentioned this, in the library, the public places where people go. So here, the library, and other places, using our channels, the media channels as well. And I think it's, the slide that's up right now, it's really important for us to tell the why behind this, that it's incorporating some logos and using the history of Carroll and those logos and those important organizations, and that's why the colors of this new logo. But yes,
I love the brand.
Using all the channels.
I think it's a great thing. I'm just one of 10,000 that need to see this brand. You know, and you'll get a pulse real quick on whether people hate it or love it. You know what I mean? And there's going to be that 10, 20% that say, oh, we liked it, but we have to get it. You know what I mean? Because that's building a brand. They're bought into it, you know? And so that's where I guess I'm trying to figure out what is the first step to do that.
Well, the first step is obviously if you accept it, the second step is getting the signs out there to let people see it. Again, going back to what Ben's experience is with his years of doing it, is that it's a gradual changeover. It's something where people all of a sudden see it and they're like, oh yeah, now I'm putting it together that, you know, that was on the letterhead there, that was on a sign downtown. Again, it's not painting the water tower tomorrow type of thing. So it's a gradual process. How quickly the city does some things, that's up to, you know, new equipment purchases and how quickly you want to start putting new logos on things. But what the steering committee is looking for now is to start the process with your approval, and then that would start with the downtown wayfinding signs, as that was identified as one of the main things the city lacks is directional signs for visitors and things of that nature. So
I look at like the water bill, for example, like if this logo's on the water bill, but Ben's presentation was 40 minutes long or so, the video that he sent us. I think he did a very good job, and some of the points that he hit, you don't realize till after he says it, such as where's the schools at? You know, you're driving in, if you're not from here, you don't know where Carroll High School is or Kemper High School is, you know, where are the parks at, you know, where's the shopping, is basic as where am I gonna park at when I go downtown? You know, that's one thing that really kind of caught me, is like, yeah, you know, it's full down there, where is public parking at? So.
And I'm with you. I love the brand, but we get in public and then we agree to the 65,000, because if the public hates it, then you know what I mean. Like the brand that everybody hates. That's not like, you know what I mean. Like we have to. It's not a vote, but we're getting this in front of them before we commit money to it.
So if I read this right, if we're voting on this, we're not voting to spend the 65,000 right now. It says in here that you guys need to bring it back to us and then for final approval. So there's one more step yet before it really gets rolling.
Can I make a point also? Go ahead. When we approved the $320,000 $25,000 last spring for emergency catalyst. Oh, it wasn't emergency catalyst, but for the demonstration grant for the facade grants. This $65,000 was included in that for Bill Muldrow and the implementation of the new brand. So we're not necessarily the steering committee's not asking for new money. They're asking for something that's already been reallocated or already been allocated. They're asking for affirmation to approve those funds. And obviously, without an exact dollar amount for the wayfinding signs, they can't come and say, we're going to spend this dollar amount. They need to get that stuff together. But putting together the implementation, which has already been on the radio, and I think it's been in the newspaper too, we can certainly put it on our Facebook page. The chamber can put it on their Facebook page, along with putting up a couple tag board signs, or I forget what, on some easels. That's probably the old way to say it, but shows my age. But in here in City Hall, probably change the paint on the back wall there for you in our city office and move forward with those things. And I think that would be fine.
You answered my question that was already budgeted for. You should have led with that. You're good.
Well, how some things have changed over the years, I think the steering committee should have, and I like the way they've done it, but I think asking for reaffirmation that we're going to do that.
And you guys have spent a lot of
wise.
time on that, and everybody on the steering committee is very involved in the public and in front of people in the public every day. So you guys are gonna get feedback, whether somebody likes it or doesn't, or what should be changed. So
And you're never gonna make everybody happy, and you're right, Jason, there's gonna be a certain percentage that they're just not gonna like it at all, and we know that. What really hit us in Ben's presentation was when he took the colors from the logos that we currently have and incorporated that into the new logo, the new C. And, that made a lot of sense to us as far as the why behind it. I think when we convey that to folks, I think that will help them as well. We've got a lot of opportunities in front of us with the state baseball tournament and other things going on. I think it's a great time to embrace this and move forward and trickle it out. We don't need to, spend a lot of money doing everything all at once. As Ryan said, this really is just stepping into it. It also goes back to the conversation of when we decided to take down this stoplight out here. What are we gonna do to slow people down or make them notice that this is our downtown district? And that's very important. And this conversation, that was the same time frame that this 65,000 was set aside. And, to me and the downtown merchants and other folks in town, it's important to have these wayfinding signs and to have that brand where it catches your eye all through town, and when you see that brand, that something's here worth paying attention to. And Ben suggested that we start in the core of our community, which would take care of our Adams Street folks and the expanded downtown area, and then work our way out. A good example that Ryan has used a lot, and we've all used a lot, is the DMAX sign on the corner of Grant and Highway 30 sits in a barrel. We can do better. So those are things that we need to work on changing, and then hopefully before the state baseball tournament, we can maybe focus on that area a little bit, but working right now on getting the best cost possible on this signage and the best use of the dollars that we might have if you approve that.
Yeah, with that 65, how many signages do you think you can get? Can you complete most of the downtown with signage, do you believe, or I'm not gonna hold you to
I really don't know, because we've talked to Coon Rapids. Their signs are different. Being on the highway, they can make them a little bit larger. We're not sure what the DOT is going to approve yet, so it's hard to say how many.
But even these banners, we can get them between 30 and 40. It says here, maybe. I mean, you could. Okay.
have we had a conversation with DOT about this yet?
We've started it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the state involved, and then it just gets drug out a little bit.
So we've already started that. The Iowa Prison Industries does signage. They work with the DOT, so it's kind of, first we've got to get past this, then we pick locations, then the DOT would start to give us feedback.
I'd also like to contact Merchants Park to get this, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do with it, with that C, or even get a light on Merchants Field that has that C, or, yeah, no, I mean, I'm totally bought in. I just want everyone to be as bought in as I am. Okay?
So you're gonna go out and do a lot of homework, you're gonna do all this stuff to promote all this stuff. And then when you feel comfortable, that's when you come back to us to say, hey, this is it, we're ready to roll? Is that what your plan?
Well, I guess we'll get the quotes will be the
Yeah,
main thing that, yeah.
that's
So, yeah,
what
we'd
I'm
get the
thinking.
quotes and then we would give that.
And location and
Yeah.
feedback and all that,
Yeah.
then you can be better off to say, we need your final approval from the council.
Right, we need your final approval on, we need you to adopt the
Right,
logo.
that's
so
on
that-
here.
So that we
Yeah.
can move forward.
It's on the recommendation.
Yeah.
But yes, Laverne, we'll be coming back when we get all the prices
Yeah,
and determine how many signs.
When the time comes, I do write an article for the paper on behalf of the mayor's office, and I will be happy to write an article about it, so at least 10, I've heard 10 or 12 people read that, so that'll help you a little bit. But whenever you're ready, remember to remind me that that's the day you want an article in the paper, and I'll take care of that. And probably get the paper to print the logo in there for you, so keep that in mind.
This logo, is this set in stone? Or can you add yellow to it for Kemper? You got your logos down here at the bottom, and you're saying you're using the colors, where's the yellow for Kemper?
Yeah, well,
He just used the red shade. So he's got the red shade from the Carroll script logo, and then he has the red shade from the Kemper logo.
We could probably make one of these things yellow. That's like almost to our colleges too, with both our, you know what I mean? Like we could, right? Cause it's ours. We can, as it goes back, add a yellow band instead of a lighter red.
Adjusted.
I'd like to see that.
Could we see it with just a yellow, maybe right after the orange?
Yeah, we can talk to him
Black
about,
in there too, then?
yeah, we can talk to him about adjusting it.
Yeah, maybe that little thing, we make it more towards, you know what I mean? Like that's just a click of a that's a click of a button on a,
For him, yeah.
yeah. So, but my understanding when we talked to him, this is like our C though. We like
Yes, he
own
gives-
this
he-
C, so we can modify this C however we,
Yeah, we
want,
can't
correct?
modify it so much in our office, but, Ben, I mean, I can text him and he'll modify it and send us the files.
Then he copyrights that.
So, yeah, he sends it.
It's
he-
not yet.
Right,
This is not copyrighted as is.
it's ours, it is ours,
We
it's
already
got
own it.
it's got a
just as it
trademark
is.
signal.
Okay.
but he will modify it.
good question, Tom.
The reds, the red is for the city of Carroll, but also for Kemper. But we can certainly talk about adding that in. It wouldn't take much to modify it for him.
If you look at the reds, and you look from a distance, the reds all kind of blend together till there's an orange, but I don't know.
Just cause you're old.
This one, I know, probably my glasses.
All right, any other questions for our guests here? Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Gotta make it work.
What?
Make a motion.
Yes.
You're just making a motion to accept it?
Okay, I look for a motion to approve the marketing plan with the designation of $65,000 for branding and marketing to begin in the core of our community, so the steering committee can finalize plans and bring them back to the council for final approval. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By Jason, Tom seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Atherton?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Ordinary?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Shrek? Yes. Motion is approved.
Thank you for all the work you guys have done on this so far too. I don't want you to think that we're like nitpicking it apart. We're just, okay.
Questions are good.
Okay, next report is on the fiscal year 2025-26 budget valuation information. And Laura.
Give me just a moment here, I'm gonna pull up something that is actually, it's in the budget documents, now I gotta figure out how to do this. Okay, so the information tonight, we're not looking for any motion of anything, we just wanted to start giving you guys a little bit of information about the budget and things and how there's starting to come together. So tonight is a bunch of information about valuation, since we've received the valuation information from the county. Oh, I don't have, I'm sorry, I'm missing something here. Get this safe here. Do this. So the first bit of information is the assessed values and the taxable values. Zoom in on that real quick. So as you recall, in every year we start talking about budget stuff, the information that first, how we put our budget together, all starts with the type of valuation that we get, or how much the city property is assessed at. Most generally, the assessed value should be pretty close to actual market value if you were going to try to sell your property. This is a comparison of the last year or the current year that we're working under and the next year as we're putting our budget, fiscal 26 budget together. You can see at the very bottom here that the overall assessed value of all the property in Carroll only went up 0.29%, so literally flat. There's not much growth in the property values in the city of Carroll from last year to this year. So after you start with the assessed values, the state says now we're going to apply what they call the rollback. There's quite the calculation that goes into figuring out what the rollback information or what the rollback number will be for residential property. It's coupled, I don't know the formula. I couldn't even tell you how they go about doing it. I've never seen it done before. But I do know that it's coupled with egg values and egg production. So if that is real robust, then that's going to definitely, however that ends up doing the egg production, ends up really affecting the rollback for residential property. So when we apply that, then we get our taxable valuation. This then becomes our starting point to figure out how much tax dollars that can be generated with a specific levy that is applied to it. As you can see, there was a little bit of a growth with the residential property. However, the reason why there's a big, or I shouldn't say big, why there's an increase there is the residential rollback here on the bottom says it went from 46.3% to 47.4%. So just a little over 1 percentage point, the rollback went up, meaning you're going to see an increase in the residential value. And you can see that there were some changes of other stuff that went on, but overall, when we start talking about the 810 levy and applying that levy to generate tax dollars, that amount of taxable valuation only went up just a little over 1.5%. And then this bottom one here, the 1.25%, that's the valuation that we use to determine how much tax dollars we can generate with the debt service levy. But overall, so in our day-to-day general operations, if the city kept the levy the same as it did last year, which is what the staff is working really hard to do in the budget, the tax revenues are only going to go up roughly about 1.5%.
Where's Westfield?
That is the project that we did out by Western Iowa Networks.
I think the reason that went down so much was because I think Walmart contested their values.
Okay, so this
No?
TIF area, the reason why this went down so much is we are nearing the end of our obligation of that TIF agreement that we have with them, and we only need a little bit of tax dollars to finish paying that out. Fiscal 26 will be the last year that we pay for that. And then that will go back and all that, while a bunch of the valuation was already released, the remainder will be released unless another project comes up in that area. Otherwise, the remainder will be released for our next fiscal 27 budget.
So that'll go to normal fiscal 27, right?
I'm sorry, what's that?
That'll go back to a normal number fiscal year 27?
Fiscal 27, Westfield will no longer be listed in the TIF area.
Okay.
And basically what she means when it's released is we collect this county, the city, and a portion of the school taxes for those. When we release that, that means that both the county, the city, and the school general funds receive those funds rather than us collecting them for our debt.
Yeah, it'll go back up into this category here for the commercial property. instead of being set aside down here to collect a specific dollar amount to pay for some obligation that we have. Okay, so that's the assessed and the taxable valuation, which are starting points for when we put our budget numbers and our budget information together.
But one thing, you mentioned 1.5%, and then it goes to 1.25%, and what was the, I didn't catch.
That's
this.
after TIF.
That's after TIF.
That's just the subtracting the tip out, and then it gets the one, okay, thanks.
The one thing to get from those dollars is how important economic development is. If we continue to grow at this pace, the only thing we'll be able to do or continue to do is cut services and raise property taxes, because we won't be able to garner taxes any other way. So that's why economic development is so important. If we grow our tax base, that'll broaden out the taxes and allow us to maintain our tax levy without raising it, because we'll have more people to input into that pool.
The other bit of information that is included with the agenda packet tonight is charts and, I think it's just charts and things that is always in our budget book, and it will continue to come out, and you will get this in your budget book. But we would just want to give you a little sneak peek of this information since it's available to you, and you can start thinking about budget information. So this next chart here is the residential rollback. As you can see, the red line is the assessed value of just the residential portion of our valuation. And yes, it has gone up, and we've seen quite an increase in the last couple of years. It jumped up. But you see the blue line, and you see the blue bars that haven't really changed much, and they've stayed fairly flat. That is the result of what the rollback has done and what it is intended to do. When you do have a huge increase in your assessed values, the rollback is intended for the tax values not to take that huge increase as well, that they try to maintain that. So that's just the way the rollback works, and that's the.
Shouldn't your valuations go up, your rollback should go up, correct? If it's not gonna affect the individual taxpayer.
The rollback is a formula that is tied to ag production, and it's done
I got that, but if your
statewide.
rollback stays consistent and your valuations go up, then the taxpayer is paying more money.
Yes, correct, but
Okay.
the rollbacks took a huge jump up, or actually, in this case, went down. So you went, 2 years ago, the rollback was 54.4%. So that means only 54% of the assessed value was taxed. Now the rollback has gone to 47.3%, which means we're only taxing on 47.3% rather than 54% or 100% or 90% when you're talking about a commercial property.
To there is still, you know what I mean?
So in the
Not
end,
necessarily one individual property, this is the whole,
average.
this is the whole.
Yeah, I'm looking at the entire average. The average is that a taxpayer is paying more money, even with the rollback.
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah,
But-
right.
Well, your assessed values probably did go,
The
yeah, your value of your
blue
home
line's a
did
little
go up.
larger than the year before.
Correct, but as you can see with that larger red bar, your blue line has gone up a little bit, but you're getting a much bigger bang for your buck than you would have if
2023 and
Yeah.
24.
you're getting better value, is what I would say, in that case.
Because you're receiving more money, but at the end of the day, you're paying more money. That's,
By 1.25%.
yeah.
The next bit of information, your next chart just shows a history of the taxable valuation, the total taxable valuation in the city, broken out. The blue is what we would call basically the 810 portion, and then adding in the red is the TIF portion. So if you just look at in total, yes, the taxable valuation of the city has gone up, or did go up there in the first number of years, and then it's kind of leveled off and actually went down a couple of years in there. So just showing you a history that it's the city's taxable valuation is not growing by leaps and bounds. It's basically kind of maintained and staying steady over the course of this past 10 years. The next few charts are just more of comparison, kind of, for your information type of thing, how we compare. We always like to do comparisons with other communities. This first chart here up does show the taxable valuation of, comparing to our peer group for residential values only. So we are in the upper
Third.
upper side, I suppose, of taxable value, residential valuation. And this is based upon the 1/123 values, which is the current budget year we're working under. Then we do a comparison of the commercial and industrial. We're still, you know, up to the higher end of the values compared to our peers, and then the total taxable valuation. The next charts are our comparison of the levies from our peer group of, and these levies are, the actual current levies that, we're collecting taxes on right now for this fiscal year. This is the consolidated, and you can see here in red where Carroll is compared to our peer groups. We are the second lowest out of our peer group for consolidated, and then the city levy, we're the fourth lowest compared to our peer group. Then the last two charts are charts that show a comparison of if you would take a median residential value and apply, in this first chart, the consolidated levy, in the second chart, it's the city-only levy, but the consolidated levy, how do you compare to our peer groups? Our peer group, how does our taxes on a median value, residential value home, how do you compare with the amount of taxes that are being collected? So Carroll is highlighted here in the yellow, and you can see that the value, median residential value of Carroll, of a home in Carroll is $172,000, and then the taxes that got collected on that home is right around or just over $2,000. Compared to, yes, you can see like, we'll pick on like Keokuk down here. Their median home value is $89,100, so quite a bit less than Carroll's, and that home is paying $1,900 in taxes.
But when you say home, is that just strictly residential homes, not including apartments and that sort of thing?
I believe residential homes.
Yeah, it's an
Just
average.
Of homes only, not dwellings.
Right, homes only.
Okay.
This shows our evaluations are extremely high.
Not if you're living in Sioux Center, you're paying a lot higher valuation than you are in Carroll. And you're paying half as many taxes. Or Pleasant Hill, or Pella, for that matter.
Pleasant Hill, you got Des Moines, you got.
Well, but you're paying a lot more taxes in Pella, Lamar's, Waverly, Spencer.
I think Denison's even a good comparison, looking at 113,000, paying $1,855.
It's the median, the middle of the road.
Yeah, so those are, median of the road houses, so our median is 172,000. Of course, Sioux Center's median is $256,000 house, whereas your median in Fort Madison is 94,000, and they're still paying $1,600 on a house. So
Yeah, I get that we're paying less tax, I'm just, our evaluations are high. That doesn't necessarily negate how much taxes we're paying, but just, if you put all these together, I meant that to be inside, not out loud, I'm sorry.
So I just did the calculation. If you took the Carroll's factor number, you take the red divided by the blue, and you take that factor and you go to Denison on 113,000. At Carroll rate, their taxes would be 1,367, so Denison's paying 1,800.
But they also support a hospital.
Well, it's just showing, what I'm showing you, if you take the factor number that you get by Carroll's taxes and you apply it to Denison.
Yeah, but again, I'm just saying the valuation of our homes are less, so it's buying a house.
But that,
cheaper. The
but this,
valuations are
but what I'm doing,
higher.
that doesn't make any difference. You take the factor. And I'm showing you,
Yeah, I understand how the chart works. I'm making a statement that our valuations are high of our homes. You can not agree with it, you can agree with it.
I don't know if that's a fair assessment. I would say our houses are assessed at a value that
It's supposed to be fairly,
across the state is actually what that assessed value is based on, because it's a company from the state that sets those assessed values.
no, your local assessor
Va-
sets this.
But Vanguard is the company that goes through the cities and sets those assessed values, and the county takes them from there.
They do that everywhere, I see it all the
Correct.
time.
They do.
But it's supposed to be obviously, hopefully based upon your market, your local market. So a home in Carroll might have a different assessed value than if that same home was in Denison.
exactly.
Or that same home was in Pella, or, pick whatever community. That home would probably be assessed slightly different depending on which community you're in. So this is just trying to show a little bit more of a comparison of trying to take away that little bit of that factor. And then the last chart does that same concept, but the city-only levy is applied to it. And Carroll, again, is highlighted here in yellow, just to show you how we would compare with other communities. Tonight's information was not necessarily intended to ask you for any type of motion or anything. Just wanted to start giving you some information for our budget talks that will be starting here in a few weeks. The plan is to get you the budget book here in a couple, next council meeting in 2 weeks, and then we will start budget discussions shortly thereafter, the following week after that. But in the meantime, if you definitely have any questions about the information, or anything with the budget, please reach out to staff and we'll see what we can do. Or is there any other questions or thoughts or comments about the information that is presented tonight?
I would just comment that those charts are valuable to see. When you compare us to, you need to compare yourself to cities of like
Size.
and,
Yeah, it's based upon
Yeah.
population.
so these are good to see.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I do appreciate it.
What is it, about a 10-minute deal? to get all these done? How's that work?
What'd you do with the rest of
Thanks
the,
for all.
rest of the week?
All right, thank you very much, Laura. Okay, we have some committee reports that we can all review on our own. Comments?
Well, just a second. I
Oh, sure.
trying to find it here. Anyway, the airport thing, they had their capital improvement fund that they're gonna do, improvements. It didn't state what it was, so I contacted them to let us know what that is, what they're planning on doing. Their 5-year outlook.
What is it?
The airport, they have a 5-look output, capital improvement.
Oh, you
That they
contacted them.
okayed,
What
but
is
it's
it?
not in here, so I contacted them to let us know what that is. So we
And they
know.
don't know yet?
They have.
They have it, but it's not in the report what they're doing. I would like to know, so I contacted them for that. Capital Improvement Fund Program.
Fair question to ask them then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I gotta find it.
Anything else?
Tom's got a question on this.
One more question. So with that airport and this whole thing, give me 1 second to find it here. You have it on there? I don't know. I gotta let this thing catch up with it. Oh,
We'll go over it next time, I can't.
next time I
find it.
can't find it either. My computer won't catch up with it.
All right. Okay. Yeah, we'll move on then, and you can bring it up then
Yep.
next time.
Yeah, you did.
Would we need to have that on the
No, it'll be, the airport has its own line item in the budget, so we'll address, I think they're talking about budget stuff. So we'll probably address that during the budget
During the
hearings.
budget hearings, correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right. I have one comment to make this evening, and that is that I have asked Carolyn Seaman to continue as Mayor Pro Tem, which she has done just fine for the last year, and we appreciate your efforts. I believe you did have to do one meeting while I was here. And Carolyn comes with a wealth of experience here on the council, and so I felt that it would be appropriate to appoint her again for the second year as Mayor Pro Tem. And thank you very much for agreeing. Okay, and any comments from the city council? Or from the city manager?
I don't have any tonight.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
and we have a motion to adjourn. Tom made the motion, Aaron seconded, roll call
Jason.
vote.
I can't.
Ordinary.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Strack. Yes. Powers.
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Atherton. We're adjourned.